AASHTO, building a legacy of leadership for more than 100 years. Here now is part 2 of our conversation with retiring Executive Director, Frederick Wright. Turning back the focus to AASHTO, last year the Board of Directors approved new governing documents to finalize the implementation process for the new committee structure that we have. I'm told that the purpose behind this major reorganization was to ensure that AASHTO's committees take a more multimodal approach as they respond quickly and effectively to fast evolving changes in technologies and policies. Can you explain the importance of this?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's not the only reason that we did the restructuring, but Tony, I think one of the things that we've seen, and certainly not just in the 6 years that I've been here at AASHTO, but it's been happening for quite some time, is that state departments of transportation are not modal silos in the same way that they once were. I mean, frankly, most of our state DOTs at one time were state highway departments. But what we see today is that what DOTs are looking for are transportation solutions, really societal solutions that transportation enables. And that means that we have to think about transportation holistically. Certainly many of those solutions will continue to involve highways, but increasingly you're seeing state departments of transportation that are directly involved in public transportation services, many of them rural public transportation services. We have 28 states that are providing passenger rail service. Many of our states have responsibilities with inland waterways and ports. So transportation departments are multimodal enterprises, and they wanted their association to begin to more directly reflect that. And I think we see a lot of that in the committee structure that enables us to have those conversations to make sure that as we're thinking about what's going to work in a community or across a state, that it looks at all the possibilities. And sometimes those will be highway solutions, and other times it'll involve many modes of transportation.
So it makes us a lot more nimble and flexible.
I think it does. I mean, I think that suggests that you have to be looking for the right solution at the right time. That requires that nimbleness, that requires that flexibility. You know, there are some other things about the committee restructuring that have created some new entities that enable a conversation to occur across modes, and hopefully some of that nimbleness will come out of that discussion as well.
I know safety has always been a big priority for you. You worked in safety for the Federal Highway Administration. We've seen, unfortunately, more than 37,000 people killed on the nation's highways last year. What's it going to take to bring those numbers down significantly?
Boy, that's the question that many people over many generations wish they could answer effectively. You know, let me start by saying that, you know, we talk about 37,000 fatalities a year. The number has been higher. Unfortunately, recently it has been lower, and it started to inch back up. And, you know, it's easy in some cases to think about that as a statistic. And of course, it's not just a statistic, it's people. It's people who are our fathers and mothers and sons and daughters and friends. And, you know, I think you have to really personalize it in that way to understand the impact that that number has on American society. I think it's not going to be a single thing, Tony, that enables us to succeed in improving highway safety. Certainly a lot of people point to the promise of automated vehicles and connected vehicles as taking human judgment out of the proposition, if you will, and the statistics show that 94% of the time driver behavior is a factor in highway crashes and highway deaths. And so if we can take that element out of the equation, certainly I think we have the opportunity for huge improvements. But there are a lot of other things that in the short term are going to help. And, you know, frankly, many of them are legislative. We know that when people wear seatbelts, the opportunity for surviving a crash is much greater, yet we don't have mandatory seatbelt laws across the entire country. We know that driving under the influence is a major consideration, and we need better enforcement in areas like that. The issue of distracted driving is another behavioral issue that is creating significant concern. And of course, there's the interaction of automobiles and commercial vehicles with people who are walking, people who are riding bicycles, and designing facilities that enable the safe movement of all the users of our system. So it's going to be a lot of different things, I think executed across a lot of different platforms, but it's possible to get there, and I think we have to continue to not accept that losing a single life is something that we want to see in this country.
This was part 2 of our conversation with retiring Executive Director Frederick Bud Wright.